Great. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our February 22nd, 2022 Gloucester City Council meeting. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the City Council and according to open meeting law, since this meeting was posted as a Zoom meeting, this meeting is recorded by video and audio and will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the City Council during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. And if you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there is a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. My name is Val Gilman. I'm the president of the City Council, and I'd like to introduce the members of the council that are on the call tonight. First of all, I'll go in order of our roll call vote that we'll be having tonight, starting with Scott Memard, who is our Ward 1 City Councilor. We've got Sean Nolan, who's our Ward 5 City Councilor and the Vice Chair of the committee. Councilor Jamie O'Hara, who's at large with the American flag in the background. Councilor O'Neill, who is our Ward 2 City Councilor. Councilor Jeff Worthley, at large City Councilor. Councilor Tony Gross, who is another at-large City Councilor. Councilor Jason Groh, who is at-large. And finally, Frank Marjota, who is Ward 3 City Council. Also on the call tonight, we have Kenny Coster, who is our auditor. We have our mayor, Greg Verga. Welcome, Mayor. And let me see who else might be on the call. Our Joanne Sinos is our city clerk. And I just want to check to see if there's any members of city staff that I did not introduce. Attendees, hold on. Right now we have 30 attendees. And I don't see any other members of city staff. I'll ask that if you are an applicant, just keep yourself, shut off the video until it's time to come on, as I see Meredith Fine, you're doing that, so thank you. And I want to start by just discussing something a little bit out of order without objection from the council. Public hearing 2021-032, RZ 2021-003. I just want to mention to everyone that public hearing is being continued until March 8th, 2022. And that is in accordance with GZO section 1.11.2a, amend GZO section 2.3.1 residential uses, 3.2 dimensional table, 3.22 dimensional requirements for multifamily dwellings and their accessory units other than signs, and 3.1.6b building heights in excess of 35 feet. And when we get to that agenda, I will just be opening the public hearing and continuing it. So we will not be discussing that. This is not the public hearing tonight on that matter. And we are continuing it because P&D is not ready for, we have not voted it yet because we've had many listening sessions and we want to get back to the drawing board to answer all the questions that have come up. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So first order of business, Madam Clerk.
First order of business is oral communications.
Thank you. The public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within a 2-week period relative to the disposition of the same, and a copy shall be forwarded to the City Council. Persons speaking under oral communications shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Scott Memard will be our timekeeper tonight. So if you can remind us when 3 minutes is up, that would be terrific. The council president shall not allow complaints as to individual performance. So at this point, would anyone like to speak to the council for up to 3 minutes on matters that are not on tonight's agenda? Patty Amaral, is the first one with her hand up. Patty, would you introduce yourself and name and address? Obviously, your name and address. Thank you.
Yes, Patty Amwell, 14 Myrtle Square. I talked last December about Burns Field and about the Terrian conditions that are there. I have done C-click fixes. I have sent emails to our last mayor, our mayor that we have now, Mayor Verger. I'm trying to work with Tracy O'Neill about getting some work done. They're very unsafe. Right now, Tracy has asked me to put a list together for everything that's wrong at the playgrounds. Now, I know we did this with our open space committee, and it was good because we got to write down everything that was wrong. Some things got fixed, some things didn't. When I show people the pictures that I have, they are just so bad. It's just so unsafe. Mats with big holes in them, handicap swings with no straps on them. At the fort, it's a beautiful playground, but the metal is coming up so a child can rip their kneecap off. And there's just so many things that's wrong at Burns Field. I can't even list them all. I don't feel that it's the residents' job to go around and make a list. I just don't have that time. And I would like to find out right now. I would like to ask the question, because I've been asking for a long time now. Whose responsibility is it for our open spaces and our playgrounds to be safety checked, to see what's wrong with them, fix these problems that are ongoing that could hurt a child? We are failing in this. We have to do something. So right now I'm going to ask that question. I have another question because I have 3 minutes. The first question is that, whose responsibility is it for our open spaces and our playgrounds to be looked at and for the jobs to be fixed in a timely manner?
So, Patty, the protocol for public comments is that there's no debate, unfortunately.
Oh,
But I will share with you that our new mayor will get back to you with that within 2 weeks, and he will be very clear with answering those questions that you have.
he has. He sent me a letter and he said that basically in a nutshell, which is wonderful, thank you for getting back to me, that the vandalism down there is kind of like stopping things that happen. But if City Hall gets vandalized, we don't just throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, City Hall got vandalized. We just got to see, we have to do something. Burnham's Field is an inner city field. And yes, a lot of things happen to it. I was on the Friends of Burnham's Field. I wrote one of the articles, one when I brought my niece down there, who is now 20 years old. And we talked about all these things and they're just still not getting done. So something needs to happen. I appreciate the letters. I appreciate people reaching out to me, but I want to bring my granddaughter to a playground that she'll be safe at. And also this playground is being used for our school children. So, okay, so that's that. Time
All
out.
right.
Yeah.
Patty,
And so the other thing is, I'm wondering
let's-
about.
Patty,
Fred.
Patty, your time is up, but we'll give you 30 seconds more.
Okay, the 30 seconds is, our minutes are not updated. I'd like to know, we have Zoom meetings. Do you not have to write minutes out? Because some of our minutes are from 2021. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Well, I will tell you that our city council meeting minutes, any committee, full committees are absolutely on track. So, so next that has a hand raised, Denise Pascucci. Denise, would you tell us your address and speak to us for 3 minutes for matters not on the agenda?
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Pascucci, 20 Birch Grove Heights. I do want to piggyback a bit on what Patty was just mentioning. I come in late on the meeting, but I did catch her speaking. But I too want to mention about the parks. I have grandchildren that I've taken to the parks, and one obviously is in my ward, which is Ward 5, is Stage Fort Park. It's pretty sad, and there's a lot of equipment there that is unsafe, or there's no swings, or there's holes, there's puddles. It's not safe. We have a beautiful Stage Fort Park. I do want to hopefully see that being attended to also as far as all the other playgrounds, because the spring is coming and we do have some beautiful parks. One question I do have is there any way that we would be bringing back a Parks and Recreation Department? I know you're not going to be able to answer that, but I think that is something that should really be discussed. That I think it's been given to the DPW, and I think that's just way too much work for them. I think we do need a Parks and Recreation. I remember years ago with the softball league that we used to see Paul Landry up at his office was up at the rink, and he was a wonderful man, and he had things running smoothly. So I do want to reiterate that our parks need some attention, and I really also agree with Patty is that we as citizens should not have to be putting fundraisers together to fix our parks. And we have so much CPA money out there, and why isn't this money being used for our parks? We're giving it to the YMCA that we can't use. We're giving it to Hammond Castle that we don't get free. Why is our money being used in these projects where it could be used at our parks? So that's what I really would hope that something will become of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. I appreciate it. I don't see any other hands raised. Oh, I do.
I saw Marianne Boucher. I think she was.
I don't, oh, I do see Marianne. So Marianne Boucher, if you would tell us your address and speak to our council for up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hold on a minute. Excuse me, I have to let her in. Hold on. Sorry.
Hi, Marianne Albert Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I just will piggyback on what Patty and Denise have also said. We do have a serious problem at our parks. Our children should be first and foremost. I've heard most of you people speak about the safety and the well-being of our children in this city. And this is where they gravitate to. They gravitate to our parks. Yes, we do need a Parks and Recreation Commission. Our DPW not only has to take care of everything in the city, but now they have to take care of everything in our schools. And we have to do something about this. I'm asking our new mayor, Mr. Verger, to please do something and help the children of this city so that they can go with their parents. This is where bonds, families meet other families, children meet other children. And it's critical that our parks are safe for not only the kids, but for the tourists and the people that come to the city. They're going to leave and they're going to tell other cities and towns that our parks and our playgrounds are a disgrace, which they are. We can't deny that and anymore. So I'm glad that Patty and Denise spoke up. I had nothing to say tonight, but they are spot on. I have 3 grandchildren. I take them to these places and I'm pretty disturbed myself. And if any of you have young children, or even if you don't, I highly recommend that you take a walk or travel by each one of our parks in Gloucester and ask yourself, is this safe? And would it be safe for your children if they were little? Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Joanne, how about Hillary Fry? She was the next hand that I saw up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, could you
Hello.
tell us your address? Thank you.
Hillary Fry, 27 Beacon Street. And I just had a question about the zoning. I was wondering if the Planning and Development Board is developing a cost benefit analysis for us so we can see the figures. That's my question, because I can see where it can be very costly to us and I'm looking for some benefit. So that's just the question I have. Is that what they're going to prepare for us?
Okay, and I'll ask when we do our P&D report, I would ask Councilor Grow, who chairs that committee, if that could just be part of the committee report. That would be terrific. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. Next person that had a hand up is Linda Mccarriston. Linda, would you tell us your address and welcome?
Thank you. My address is 16 Quarry Street, and my name is Linda Mccarriston. And I'm starting my stopwatch. I want to speak to an aspect of zoning that is not being considered. And that is my old friend, the purposes clause. And I won't necessarily read the purposes clause right now because I've read it many times. The purposes clause protects us who live here right now. They're marvelous protections for our property and our persons and our city in terms of how dense it can get and all of that. I have asked several times, what does the planning board and what does the city council plan to do with these purposes, which must all be thrown away if the amendments that you proposed are accepted? All of the air, light, view, lack of congestion, health, safety, space, those things are all in the purposes clause of the zoning ordinances. And they're all going to go away. And I have been very disturbed by the fact that from the beginning with the planning board, and even with Greg Cadmatori's presentation, there have been frequent and repeated misrepresentations. And sometimes I truly do believe that our government, our city hall, is a sort of oral culture that you don't believe in referring to the printed word.
Madam President,
Linda,
point of
would
order.
you be so kind, Linda, as not making complaints as to individual
Oh,
performance?
okay, I'm sorry.
So continue.
I'm very sorry, I forgot that. I was trying to be
Madam
specific.
President,
so
I'll
that-
call the point of
Yeah.
order.
Go ahead. Point of order. I don't, is that Council
It's
Gross?
Council Nolan.
Council Nolan. Go
I
ahead. Council
think
Nolan.
that we've already stepped into a point where we're listening to something that is truly appointed to the situations that are in front of us on our agenda tonight. Purpose clause or not, there's been a lot of misled into and people's names being brought into if something happens. So if we're going to let this continue, then we might as well open up the floodgates for everybody else to continue at the same time.
So Linda, I think we understand your comments about the purpose clause, and I support Council Nolan's recommendation. So thank you, and we will take note of the purpose clause. Next person that has their hand raised is LJ. LJ, would you state your name if you would and your address? And you have up to 3 minutes to talk to us about matters not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Lisa Rigsby, 3 Taylor Court. I just wanted to say that as we're lessening our mask requirements and possibly, increasing our in-person meetings, that I'm really for keeping the Zoom format because it's inclusive and really encourages public participation. We saw that especially with the ward meetings that happened, and there was a lot of participation, and it was great to be able to listen in, especially for people with disabilities or people who are multitasking, preparing dinner, helping with homework, or working late. This format, I think, is really important to continue. That being said, I just wanted to mention and remind that when we do have the opportunity to speak, and for those 3 minutes, I think it's important to allow us to speak for those 3 minutes. I had an unfortunate situation where I was cut off, and the majority of the time was spent listening to counselor response, where I had a quick list of questions, and I just wanted to remind you that this is our only chance in that public format to speak, and that really we should have the time, and that you be mindful of that as council. Thank you. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have a hand up from Joshua Fishburne. Joshua, would you state your address and speak to us for 3 minutes for matters not on the agenda? Thank you.
Hi, my address is 17 Beacon Street, Ward 3. And I'm just voicing my concern tonight about the Transportation District amendments and the Zoning Board's decision amendment.
Joshua, that matter is on the agenda. So that matter is going to be taken up at the public hearing, and on the March 2nd, we will be having all the questions answered at P&D that have come up in all the ward council meetings. So
Point of order.
State your point, Councillor O'Hara.
Yes, although this is noted on the agenda is to be continued. So what this gentleman's talking about will have no influence on us tonight.
Councillor Grow.
I'm gonna agree and disagree with Councillor O'Hara. I disagree that we should be allowing commentary on the zoning amendments as they are stated in the public hearing. I agree with him that the TOD is not part of the public hearing and is not part of the amendments that are moving forward. So as much as you know, I think that we need to be moving on with things, the TOD is not on the agenda.
So on the agenda is an explanation of the meeting that we're going to have for information.
Fair enough. I forgot about that. I apologize.
Okay.
I'll rescind that.
And when we do the consent agenda, we can certainly take that off and just announce that to the public.
I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
Okay, thank you. So Councilor O'Hara, if you want to appeal my my rules of procedure, you're welcome to state a motion and put that on the floor so we can do a roll call vote of the city council.
Thank you. I'd like to put a motion that we suspend the rules that people are allowed to speak about zoning issues, as we are not voting on it tonight. I so move.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay,
second.
okay. Is there a discussion on this motion, councilors?
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
I will, you would like to,
Councilor
motion
O'Hara.
maker,
He
please.
was the motion maker, so go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. Again, as not to repeat myself, but we are not voting on any zoning amendments this evening. That this gentleman is speaking, he has allowed 3 minutes, and that his voice should be heard. If for no other reason, this freedom of speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Grow, you had your hand raised.
We have rules of procedure for a reason. And while I am very much in line with the idea that we should accept more commentary than less, we do have a rule that if something is on the agenda, then that is not a topic for the oral communications. And whereas I was going to defend this particular commentary, I neglected to remember that this is in fact on the agenda. If we start doing this with every issue, we might as well not have that rule. And frankly, the rule serves a very good purpose in keeping public commentary to public hearings and to the places where it's on the record on the issue at the moment. And I think that we need to be consistent with that rule.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors like to speak before we do a roll call vote? Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, I would like to speak in favor of Joshua Fishburne speaking. This is a public hearing. I think we should hear from the public.
It's not a
Councilor
public hearing.
Gross. Councilor
Yeah.
Gross. Yep,
Um,
great.
Yeah, today I got a call from somebody who was asking about it being on tonight's meeting, and I said, no, it wasn't. And the purpose of an advertised public hearing is so everyone gets a fair and equal shot at participation. And if we don't honor that by sticking to the letter of what we say, then we're not honoring anything. And while I understand that there's a desire to allow people to speak their position, it isn't fair to the other people who are waiting for the actual public hearing, which is what the public hearing is for. And we do have a public hearing on this. We have had, to date, there's been 8 public sessions on this matter. with a major amount of participation. And I don't think it's a major hardship where it actually will be voiced have a lot more weight if it's voiced at the public hearing itself. And I think that that's just fair to all constituents involved, unlike being able to allow people to cherry pick when they use the public hearing format, even though it is not a public hearing.
Thank you. Council Nolan, I saw your hand up.
It's tonight, Council O'Neill, it's not a public hearing. This is oral communications. Oral communications are messages from the constituency to the mayor's office for the mayor's response. They're not for us, and they're not for us to discuss back or answer to people during the oral communications. Anything that might be in front of us for a public hearing that's been advertised, if we start talking at oral communications, there's an unfair injustice to people that were waiting for the meeting to have their say. So if it's in front of us on the agenda, then that means it's something that we're not to talk about, including the MBTA. It's on the agenda tonight. And oral communications are questions to the administration and the mayor, not through us. So for us to get involved in oral communications in something that's in front of us in a public hearing, it can be used against us in our final results of how we judge. And that's why I kind of take it to be sensitive, and I will stand that I will not support allowing this to happen tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any more hands raised? Councilor Majota.
I just want to say, Joshua, him and I have been emailing, and if you feel, depending on how we vote, you can just call me tomorrow and I'll be happy to listen if you're unable to speak today. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else like to speak on this? Council Worthley.
Thank you, Chairman Gilman. I think we all support additional public input at every step of the way. And Councilor Hara, I think that it's admirable that you want to hear from the people. We have a process in place. And I think the thing that we need to be cautious of is if there were a series of people who were, for example, in favor of these zoning changes, and they all spoke at a meeting that wasn't advertised as such, and we took that input and gave another bite of the apple there, and then doubled down and having those same people speak at a public hearing, we'd be giving an unfair advantage to one side over the other. And I think that sets us up for tremendous liability if this were an application for a building or something like that. In fact, by doing this, we would be violating open meeting laws by not advertising that this is a subject we're taking up where we already have it advertised for a set date and time. And I don't mean any disrespect to the public that wants to add commentary. I think that we should continue to listen, but this is the time where we bring up subjects that aren't before us, either on today's agenda or, in my opinion, on the table at some point to be heard at another date. So I'm not going to support the motion to suspend the rules of procedure tonight.
Okay, I don't see other hands, so I would like to restate the motion that Councilor O'Hara has made. He had made a motion to appeal my ruling that we not accept people's 3-minute comments for matters that are on the agenda. So a yes vote is in favor of Councilor O'Hara, and a no vote is in favor of our rules of procedure. That is, if that is correct, right? So yes is in favor of Councilor O'Hara. So let's do a roll call vote, councilors. We need a majority to appeal my ruling. Councilor Memhard.
No.
Councilor Nolan.
No.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
No.
Councilor Gilman. No. Councilor Gross. Tony, could you unmute yourself?
No.
Councilor Grow.
No.
Councilor Majota.
No.
The noes have it, 7 in favor, 2 opposed. I think I said that correctly. Did I say that correctly? Yeah.
2 were in favor, 7 were.
Two in favor, 7 opposed.
Okay, thank you. 2 in favor, 7 opposed. So thank you. We're back to Joshua Fishburne. Joshua, if you have any matters that you would like to talk to us about for 3 minutes that are not on the agenda, we'd love to hear from you. And we already got your address, so continue.
I guess this has been a really enlightening few minutes. Thank you all for your time there in deciding whether I could speak about the issues that are already on the agenda. I respect that. I would say, I hope that at some point you consider envisioning a Gloucester that overcomes some of the clear economic divides between the differences of housing density in this Ward 3 part of town and housing density in East Gloucester and other places. I hope you respect that. And I hope you work towards one Gloucester instead of increasing the economic divides that already challenge our city.
Okay, thank you. I see a phone number, the last 4 digits is 7337. And I know you haven't spoken. If you would introduce yourself and your address, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Craig Hamilton. I reside at 46 Grove Street. I'd like to first welcome the new mayor, as well as the new councils and the old councils that's returning. My complaint is the intersection to Grove Street to Washington Street, as well as Centennial Ave to Washington Street, with the lack of signage down there regarding 20 feet from a corner, and cars parking on sidewalks. I had a car parked on a sidewalk. I mean, a crosswalk, a crosswalk in front of Tony's Variety for over an hour and a half last Wednesday, where I was actually parked there for almost, 40 minutes or whatever, waiting for law enforcement to come to deal with the car parked on the crosswalk. But many people that were coming from Centennial Ave side had to literally go into the street to cross back to get back on the sidewalk. There's so much lack of signage down there now. That intersection is more busy now than it's ever been compared to what George's has done over there, as well as how busy Tony's Variety is all the time, and as well as Carl's Combs now, going into the summer months. They're busy in the wintertime. So they're going to even get more busy, hopefully, as the summer goes on. It's just, my mother does the cemetery restorations for the city. She's a volunteer at the City Archives at City Hall. Next couple months, she'll be heading down to the First Parish burial ground on Centennial Ave, which she crosses the street there. And I get in fear every time she has to get down there. The way the parking is down there with no signage, it's a blind spot, even just to pull out onto Washington Street from Grove Street. The cars, once they hit the railroad tracks coming to the Rotary, it's the Autobahn there. They go from point A to point B. And some of them 50, 55 miles an hour. And I've seen it. I've almost gotten T-boned down there many, many times in the morning. So that needs to be addressed. I've been dealing with Council Majota and as well as Council O'Neill, because I was told that Tony's Variety around that area, Oak Grove Cemetery kind of splits the wards at that area where Ward 3, I'm in Ward 3, but where Tony's Variety is kind of creates into Ward 2. Jamie O'Hara has been side by side with me. Many know I fought Grove Street many years, trying to get the streets and sidewalks paved here, which happened last fall after a long battle with the old administration. I can't thank all the public servants that helped me get to that point. But this situation down at Tony's Variety and Carl's Combs, someone's going to get hit and killed down there. And I don't want to be one of those people that says to anybody, I told you so. I actually went down and saw Mayor Berger, had a few words with him, nice meeting with him for about 5-10 minutes on his free time. But this really needs to be expedited and addressed sooner than later. That's really my complaint tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being
Yeah,
here.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, just to let everyone know, we have now 52 attendees on this call. And I think that concludes our public comments. And next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The next order of business is the confirmation of new appointments.
Thank you. And I will turn this over to our O&A Chair and Vice Chair of the committee, Councilor Sean Nolan. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor, you are muted.
Sorry about that. First order would be our Affordable Housing Trust with Deanna Fay. Deanna Fay, you with us tonight?
I am. Thank you.
How you doing, Deanna?
I'm
So
great.
you're not new to us or to anybody in the city, but you're new to the Affordable Housing Trust. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself for the full council, that'd be excellent.
Sure. Same remarks that I gave at the previous committee. I just want to start off by saying how honored and appreciative I am for the opportunity to join the Affordable Housing Trust. Housing, specifically affordable housing, is sort of a near and dear issue of mine. I worked for 14 years in real estate and also for another 10 years working specifically with a nonprofit affordable housing organization. So I feel like I have been advocating for affordable housing in the North Shore region for a very long time. I moved to Gloucester about 9 years ago now. I'm a lifelong resident of the North Shore, so I'm familiar with the housing needs of our neighbors and also here in the community as I went through my own process of trying to find a home. I'm sort of, I don't know, involved with Keep In Local Action as a housing advocate. Sorry, my dog is going to be barking in the background here. Keeping my sort of, as I semi-retired, keeping involved in sort of the civic engagement of promoting pro-housing policies and advocacy and that sort of thing. I'm not quite sure what else to say, so I'll end there.
So thank you, Deanna. And I believe your dog was rooting for you.
She was barking earlier. I think Belle's dog was barking, and that got 3 dogs in my house barking at the same time. So quite a show.
So is there any questions or comments from anybody on the council? All right, seeing none. Is there any questions or comments from the administration?
Yes, I would just like to say, so we have Deanna here, and right after this, you're going to take up Heather Daigle. So we as administration are really trying very hard to get the Affordable Housing Trust reconstituted and give them some tools to work with. You'll notice item 2 in the mayor's report is a transfer of $50,828 and some change from the stabilization free cash over to the Affordable Housing Trust. That is the number we took in for the tax on short-term rentals. So we are committed to do that. This is the first down payment in that process. And I think that with Deanna and Heather and the rest of the crew over at Affordable Housing Trust, they are going to be a lot more proactive, and stay tuned for some new information from the administration in the coming weeks.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Verga. So I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Deanna Fay to the Affordable Housing Trust, term to expire 2/14/24, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, I will do the roll call. Councilor Memhard,
Yes, and thank you, Deanna Fay.
Councilor Nolan,
Absolutely. Thank you, Deanna.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow,
An enthusiastic yes.
Councilor Majota,
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much, Deanna.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So next on the agenda for the Affordable Housing Trust, we have Heather Daigle. Heather, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And another person that really doesn't really need an introduction to the city council. I believe everybody knows you and appreciates you. But if you could just give us a little brief introduction to yourself and why you want to be in this committee, that'd be excellent.
Great. I think I will keep it short and sweet because it's reiterating a lot of what Deanna just said. But I think it's important to maintain the diversity of our city. And I know that there's a lot of employees in this city that need to find housing, and I think it's only going to benefit the businesses to have more housing for the people of our community.
Excellent. Thank you, Heather. Is there any questions or comments from any of the council? All right, hearing none, I believe that the administration has spoken on you as well and is very appreciative. So I will go ahead with the motion. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Heather Daigle to the Affordable Housing Trust, term to expire February 14th, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Nolan, a second by Council O'Hara. Roll call vote. Council Memhard,
Yes, indeed.
Council Nolan,
Absolutely.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Another enthusiastic yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. So next we have on the Community Preservation Committee, Mark Poulin. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and the rest of the council, why you'd like to be on this committee, that'd be excellent.
Well, I jumped at the chance to fill Chairperson Wakeman's empty seat on the Open Space Committee that represents CPC, and that's why I'm here tonight. And after serving some time on the Open Space Committee, I think we have an exciting open space plan coming about. It's still in draft right now. And there's a lot of things that tie off with the CPC, and I think it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to expanding my role in civic volunteering, and I've been a resident of Gloucester for 27 years. I've worked here for 34, still employed, and I've got a graduating senior at Gloucester High and a freshman, and looking forward to this and even the 400-year celebrations and other good things.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you very much. Is there any councilor questions or comments from Mark? Right here, none. Is there any questions or comments from the administration?
Just that I appreciate Mark willing to serve on these two committees.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Verga. So that being said, I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Mark Poulin, Open Space and Recreation Committee representative, to the Community Preservation Committee, term to expire February 14th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion was made by Council Nolan and seconded by Council O'Hara. Roll call vote. Council Memhard,
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Council Nolan,
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Welcome, thank you.
So next on the agenda would be the Fisheries Commission. We have Sam Parisi. Sam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
We can. It's great to hear from you. I'm sure most of the people know who you are and familiar with all your work around the city. If you give us a little brief description about yourself and why you want to be on the Fisheries Commission, that'd be excellent.
I've been a fisherman all my life and in the fishing business, and I've gone to many meetings, been on a lot of boards. I presently still am on the Widows and Orphans. And we've got so many problems in the fishing industry. And even though I am not fishing, my kid brother is fishing and friends. And I'm really concerned that the fleet has gone from 200 down to 50. And I'm going to do whatever I can to get things turned around. And I think the best way to start is to start with the Fisheries Commission, because they should be able to have a say in what we're doing. And I want to reach out to our senators to tell them some of the problems we have and what we're facing. And I look forward to working with the Fisheries Commission.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam. Do we have any questions or comments from our council for Sam? All right. Hearing none, is there any questions or comments from the administration?
I just again appreciate Sam emailed me out of the blue, interested to join the Fisheries Commission. I appreciate it. We still have openings on the Fisheries Commission, incidentally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Verga. So that being said, I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance and Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Sam Parisi to the Fisheries Commission, term to expire February 14th, 2025, and I shall move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. Roll call vote. Councilor Memard.
Yes, and Sam, thank you for your service.
Councilor Nolan.
Thank you, Sam. Yes.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes, and thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much, Sam.
You're welcome, and have a good evening.
You as
too.
well. All right, so next we have for the Shellfish Advisory Commission, we have Anthony Morawski. Anthony, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you.
If you could just tell the council a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on this Shellfish Advisory Commission, that would be excellent.
Sure. I've been a resident of Gloucester for the past 10 years and a commercial clammer for over 20 years. I previously lived in Ipswich, where I was born and raised. I served on the Shellfish Advisory Board there, so I do have experience on committees. I really enjoy clamming, and I want to see it do well into the future.
Excellent, Anthony. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments from the council for Anthony? All right, hearing none. Is there anything from the administration?
Yeah, I just want to say Anthony came in to the office out of the blue, dropped off a resume, and I appreciate his willingness to serve.
Excellent. Once in a while, we get a blessing from Ipswich. I got my wife.
The clams in Gloucester definitely taste better than Ipswich, I'll tell you that. That's for sure, hands down.
Wow, can we vote for him twice?
All right, so with that being said, I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Majota, actually by Worthley, the Ordinance and Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council appoint Anthony Morawski to the Shellfish Advisory Commission, term to expire February 14th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Nolan, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. Roll call vote. Councilor Memhard.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan.
Absolutely.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Absolutely.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. So next we have for the Waterways Board, Peter Feinstein. Peter, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm glad to have you here tonight. It's a very important board to the city and very active, and a lot of good people on this board. if you just give us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Waterways Board, that'd be excellent.
I've lived on Cape Ann since, I believe, 1983. I've lived in Gloucester since 2007, and I've been active in the waterways in Manchester and in Gloucester, both as a committee member and as head of the junior program in Manchester. I served on various committees in Gloucester, including the Harbor Economic Development Committee some years ago. I'm a trustee in the library. I am a director of the foundation that's raising the funds for the new library. And I can't remember them all. Anyway, I just love being near the water. I grew up on an island, and it's just great to be, it's Manhattan Island, but it was an island nonetheless. And I just love the water, and I love being in Gloucester. I've always wanted to serve on a harbor-related committee. So I'm very happy that Mayor Berger has nominated me for this position.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. Is there any questions or comments from the council for Peter? All right, hearing none. Is there anything from the administration?
Just another big thank you to Peter, and look forward to him being part of the board.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Verger. So with that being said, I'll read the motion. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Peter Feinstein to the Waterways Board, term to expire February 14th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Nolan, a second by Councilor O'Hara. Roll call vote. Councilor Memard,
Yes, and thank you, Peter.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes, thank you, Peter.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
yes,
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes, Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow,
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So next we have for the Waterways Board, John Harvey. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's glad to hear it. Thank you for being here. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and why you'd like to be on the Waterways Board.
As you probably already know, I'm a lifelong resident of Gloucester. I was born here. I was a commercial fisherman for 12 years. I've been in marine construction for the last 20, most of that in commercial diving and dredging. And as many of you probably know, I was the manager for the recent maintenance dredging the Annisquam River. I've dredged, fished, and worked up and down the East Coast. And I've seen what happens when there's both neglect and unchecked development of a harbor. And I care way too much about this place.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Is there any questions or comments for John from the council? All right, seeing none, I just want to reiterate from the O&A meeting how excited I am to have someone with a background in dredging and pylon installations to be on the Waterways Board, to work with the rest of the committee on a very hard-working committee and bring your experience and knowledge to the plate when we have complicated issues in front of us with rebuilding piers or dockage around the city, and insight to how we can work on more dredging projects. So I, for one, am very happy for you to be on this committee.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments from the administration? Oh, sorry, Councilor Gilman. Sorry, Greg.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, John, just also a kudo to Tony Gross, but the work that was done on the dredging of the Annisquam River was second to none. As an avid boater, there have been times that we've had to tow boats out of certain parts of the river. And now we look even at dead low tide, and something that used to be 3 feet is now 7 or 8 feet. So it was a job well done, and kudos to both of you. Thank you.
Oh, there are places that were +2 at low tide. They're now 9. So we took 11 feet out of a lot of places.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Mayor Verger.
Yeah, I just want to thank John for his willingness to step up. I just want to point out also that John is fulfilling the unexpired term of Russell Sherman, so we should recognize Russell for his years of service. Russell is going to be moving out of town later in the summer, and he told me that if I'd found a suitable replacement, he'd be willing to resign sooner, which he did when I found John. And there are now 5 new voting members of the Waterways Board. You know, one being Steve LeBlanc, so he and Tony switched places. I did watch most of their first meeting as a group the other day, which I thought went pretty well. But Tony and some of the other old timers are going to really be, it's so important that they're there to help guide these people along. But they all have very varied backgrounds that are strong and will help the board, I'm sure, as a whole. So thanks to John and to Peter and all the others.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor Verger. And I do want to reach out and say something about Russell Sherman. Wonderful man. I did believe he had a degree from MIT. So those are some big shoes to fill. Very smart man. Harvard. Sorry, Harvard.
Harvard.
In history. In history.
Very
He'll
smart.
be
man.
missed on our wharf, the ice company.
So with that being said, I will read the motion. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint John Harvey, fulfilling the unexpired term of Russell Sherman to the Waterways Board, term to expire February 14th, 2023, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Roll call vote, Council Memard.
Yes, thank you, John.
Council Nolan,
Yes, thank you, John.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
yes,
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes, and I'd like to say a thank you to my good friend and brother Russell, and a welcome aboard to John.
thank you. Council Grow,
Yep.
Council Majota,
Yes.
the yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, so next on deck, we have Rob Russell as an alternate member to the zoning board. Rob, are you available tonight?
I don't see him on the call unless he has a phone number.
I am not seeing Rob Russell. I personally don't have any objections to putting him through as an alternate. It's the will of the council.
Make the
Any
motion.
objections, councilors?
None.
Seeing none, state your motion. Thank you.
Not a problem. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Ordinance and Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council appoint Rob Russell as an alternate member to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire February 14th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Roll call vote, Council Memhard,
Yes,
Council Nolan,
Absolutely.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
yes,
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Our city clerk is on the call. Is there an issue, Madam Clerk?
No, I was just getting ready for the next council. That's all.
Okay. So I just wanted to thank Council Nolan and our Mayor, Greg Berger, for being here tonight through this, and appreciate it. And I also wanted to recognize a couple members of city staff that I see as attendees now. including Mac Shank, who is our Board of Health Director. And I also see Greg Catamatore, who is our Planning Director and our Acting Community Development Interim Director. So just welcome on the call. And we now have 49 attendees. So next order of business, Madam Clerk. You are muted, Joanne, sorry.
Next order of business is the consent agenda.
Counselors, would anyone like to pull any matter off the consent agenda? Counselor Grow.
I'd like to pull off the minutes from February 8th, 2022.
Okay, anyone else like to pull anything off the consent agenda? Counselor Nolan?
Under the mayor's report, under appointments and reappointments, number 1, for the Stage 4 Park Advisory Committee, William Fonvielle has asked to not be reappointed to the committee by letter through the mayor's office.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to pull anything off? So I would like to pull off the MBTA draft guideline or guidance and that is it. So let's go to the first order of Councilor Grow. Would you describe what you would like to discuss? And
Yeah, I'd like to amend the minutes, or at least clarify the minutes on page 2, starting with, there was a discussion regarding the matters that were not on the agenda. I just wanted to clarify that I was arguing in favor of the public being allowed to speak on the proposed zoning amendments during oral communications because it wasn't on the agenda that night. I want to be clear in my concern that we follow council procedure, and that evening, those issues were not on the agenda, and as opposed to tonight. So I just want that clarification in there, that it was because the zoning amendments that were being discussed were not on the agenda.
Duly noted. So we will put that back on the consent agenda. Thank you. Councilor Nolan, would you like to make a motion for your particular issue on Bill Fonvielle?
Yeah, by background, this was communicated us through the mayor's office that after many great years in dedicated work to the city of Gloucester, Bill Fonvielle has decided not to request to be on the Stage 4 Park Advisory Committee. And I want to thank him for all the years in events and things that he's done for the city. It's sad to see him go.
Thank you. So that matter will be withdrawn from the consent agenda per your notice right now.
Yes.
We are amending the consent agenda not to include that. Thank you. And I would like to just speak to the matter that I pulled off the consent agenda, and that is the addendum to the mayor's report, which is a fact sheet regarding multifamily zoning requirements for the MBTA communities. And I wanted to let the public know that this is on page 72 of tonight's packet. It will also be available on the city website, so it's very prominent. And I just wanted to mention that we will be having a joint meeting with the planning board on March 9th at 6 o'clock. It will be an information meeting for all to listen in on. It will be a Zoom meeting. And we look forward to understanding more about this MBTA draft guidance and all the target dates. So this document now is available for the public, and I will look to the mayor's office to make sure that this is posted on a prominent spot on the city website, and it is available for you all to see, as I just said. So I will put that back on the consent agenda. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as noted?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Grow, and I think the second was Councilor Nolan.
Second.
Yes, okay.
Scott
So
wanted a second.
Excuse me?
Scott wanted the second.
Oh, Scott. Okay. I'm sorry. I was listening to Sean's voice and you were raising your hand. So Scott Memard will have the second. And so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as noted. Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
I am voting yes, but I do have a question. Would now be the time to ask it, or should I wait?
Wait,
You need to wait until after we vote. Thank you.
Okay, so yes.
Okay, thank you. Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Thank you. The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Without objection, I'd like to suspend our rules of procedure and ask Council O'Neill to state her question.
I'm just wondering, on the March 9th meeting, is that listen only? The public will not be able to speak?
There is a full process that is in place and it's on the document. And this will not be a public hearing, but there's a number of ways to communicate with this on that document that will be described at that meeting and is on that document right now. So that is the process.
That is on what document? The document from the mayor's report regarding the MBTA?
It's in the packet. It's a 2-page document. It's on page
Right,
7.
page 72, yes. Okay. And that will let us know if the public will be able to speak?
It is not a public hearing right now.
Okay.
It is a public process. We are going through the stages. And specifically right now, we have 2 things that we need to do on this matter. Number 1, we need to discuss the MBTA draft guidance at a city council meeting and provide a copy of that conversation to the Department of Housing and Community Development. That's number 1 that we have to do. Number 2, there's a requirement that we complete and submit the MBTA form, which includes basic information about our existing zoning. Those are the 2 matters that we have to complete for this part of the deadline. The guidelines are still being worked on through the state and Department of Housing and Community Development. And we will hear from our planning director, Greg Catamatore, at the joint meeting between the planning board and the city council on March 9th. So we encourage everyone to zoom in and watch it. And these are all questions that we'll be able to ask at that point, more specifically to Greg Catamatore. So I would say that if members of the public wish to have questions asked at that meeting, send them to any one of the ward councilors or city councilors, and we can certainly ask the questions on your behalf. So thank you. Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is the Budget and Finance Standing Committee report of February 17th. Excuse me.
Thank you. So I'll turn this part of the meeting over to Councilor Memard, who chairs Budget and Finance. Thank you, Councilor.
Along with Councilor Gross and Councilor Worthley. In the interest of public transparency and inclusiveness with our council, rather than having a consent agenda for the budget and finance items that were discussed last Thursday, we wanted to go ahead and vote them individually here this evening and give people a chance to weigh in if they had any particular concerns or questions. The first item from budget and finance from last Thursday is a memorandum from the public health director requesting approval of a 2022 Community Health Inclusion Index mini grant in the amount of $10,000. And Max, perhaps you'd like to speak to that?
Joanne, could you bring Max Schenk into the call? He's now as an attendee. Welcome, Max. Thank you.
Hi, folks. How are you? And thank you for the opportunity. Great to see you all. So I'm not going to do this much justice. I'm afraid Jennifer Donnelly in our department, who's head of our mass motion program, is the one who is leading the charge on this. But I can essentially say that this money will go to fund a study that will assess the needs and inequities of transportation and policies and systems, environmental changes that need to be take place in the community for folks with mobility issues and for greater transportation needs. Again, I'd be happy to answer whatever questions I possibly can. But that's essentially it. It's no match, which is nice, and we'll be contracting with a company to perform. It's basically a tool that's used, and you're paying for the tool to be able to do the assessment.
Thank you. And Jennifer Donnelly did an excellent presentation at last Thursday's budget meeting, which is available if anyone would like to review it on the Zoom recording.
Thank you. Would you like to make the motion, Counselor?
Thank you. Yes. Budget and Finance Committee recommended the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A a 2022 Community Health Inclusion Index, or CHII, mini grant, a state grant from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Office of Local and Regional Health, Mass in Motion Municipal Wellness and Leadership Program, and Office of Health Equity, in the amount of $10,000 for the purpose of supporting and building upon the Mass in Motion work to identify needs for those with mobility limitations using this specific tool. The grant period is from January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, and there is no local match required, and I so move.
Second.
It's a motion made by Counselor Memard and seconded by Counselor Gross. Is there discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Memard,
Yes.
Counselor Nolan,
Yes.
Counselor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor O'Neill,
Yes.
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman, yes. Counselor Gross,
Yes.
Counselor Grow,
Yes.
Counselor Majota,
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Continue.
Thank you,
Counselor.
counselors.
Thank you, Max. The second item on Budget and Finance's agenda from last Thursday is a memorandum from the Veteran Services Director requesting our acceptance of donations totaling $2,250. And we'd like to recognize Adam Kukuru and the good work he continues to do, raising funds supporting the mission of the Veterans Services Department. There are 6 donations from individuals and organizations, including the Gloucester Lodge of the Elks and Beauport Financial Services, totaling $2,250, and I move that we accept.
Second.
Counselor Memard made the motion and it was seconded by Counselor Worthley. Is there discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Memard,
Yes.
Counselor Nolan,
Yes, thank you, Adam.
Counselor O'Hara,
Yes.
Counselor O'Neill,
Yes.
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman. Yes. Counselor Gross,
Yes, and it seems this is the second time we've gotten this kind of a donation. So Adam's doing some great work down there where people are rewarding the city to help carry our services for the people who are so well deserved of it, who've served for us.
absolutely. Thank you. Counselor Grow,
Yes.
Counselor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Adam. Continue, Counselor.
The third item from Budget and Finance this evening is actually a double hitter. We have a memorandum requesting acceptance from the interim Community Development Director, requesting acceptance of fiscal year 2022 Mass Cultural Council grants for the Downtown Gloucester Harbortown Cultural District and for the Rocky Neck Cultural District, each in the amount of $7,500. And I'll go ahead with the motion unless Greg would like to make any comment about it.
Welcome, Greg.
Good evening, counselors. So this is the second year running of this grant program from the Mass Cultural Council. We received the same funding last year. There is no match to the city. And the two districts kind of collaborated last year. If you'll recall, this is what supported the Cultural Splash program that ran through the summer on Thursday evenings. And the intent is to utilize those funds again and perhaps expand the programming this coming year.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Council Memard, state the motion.
Yeah, there are two halves to the motion, one for each cultural district. Budget and Finance recommends the acceptance of a state grant under the Mass General Law 4453A for the Massachusetts Cultural Council for a fiscal year 2022 cultural district initiative in the amount of $7,500 for the purpose of supporting the Rocky Neck Cultural District and financial assistance to support personnel, marketing, artist stipends, and free public transportation for summer Thursday evening cultural experiences located in both the Rocky Neck Cultural District and the downtown Harbortown Cultural District. The grant period is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and there's no local match, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Council Memard, seconded by Council Worthley. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
And then the second half of the motion, I should acknowledge that Gloucester is unique in having two distinct cultural districts within our boundaries here. So we're very fortunate in that regard. Part of Gloucester's rich historical traditions and artistic traditions. But Budget and Finance Committee recommends that the City Council accept a state grant under Mass General Law 4453A from the Massachusetts Cultural Council for a fiscal year 2022 Cultural District Initiative grant in the amount of another $7,500 for the purpose of supporting the Gloucester's downtown Harbortown Cultural District and financial assistance to partner with Rocky Neck Cultural Council District to plan and market Thursday evening cultural experiences this summer, highlighting the numerous cultural assets in the downtown Harbortown Cultural District and the Rocky Neck Cultural District. The grant period is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. And there is again, no local match for this grant, and I move acceptance.
Second.
We have a motion made by Council Memard, seconded by Council Worthy. Is there a discussion? Roll call vote. Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
Yes, have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Greg, for being here tonight, and Max, appreciate it. Next motion, Counselor.
Yeah, the fourth memorandum tonight, unfortunately, we're going to be spending some money rather than accepting others' generosity, but it's for an important purpose. We have a memorandum from our Chief Financial Officer, John Dunn, and a supplemental appropriation request 2022 SA 12 in the amount of $120,000 for the purpose of a study of the pollution in the Good Harbor Beach Creek. And I'm not sure if, again, Greg or John would like to speak to this, or Max, actually.
So thank you, counselors. And I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to thank our staff member, Rachel Belisle-Toller, who's been leading the charge on this. Counselors may remember that over the summer, the Good Harbor Creek was shut down for quite a number of weeks, actually till the end of the season, because we were seeing astronomical bacteria rates coming from there, highest we'd ever seen. So Rachel and her team, along with DPW, got together and did some preliminary investigations, a lot of water sampling, going as far upstream as they possibly could to try and figure out what the source was without any real determinations. So what I'd like to do is to give her her due, really, and because also she has all the information in her own head for that probably best answer any of the council's questions, is to ask that Rachel be allowed in to take it from here.
Rachel, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here to answer any questions you may have about the Good Harbor Creek and our efforts to find the source of the pollution. We've identified a really exciting partnership with Woodard & Curran, an engineering firm, to help us get to the bottom of the source of pollution. And we're really looking forward to moving forward with a more in-depth investigation on any potential illicit discharges, some humor marker testing to make sure that we're dealing with human bacteria, not animal bacteria, along with ensuring that our state infrastructure and septic systems are not contributing to the problem.
Any questions to Rachel or to Max? Council Grow.
I guess the question is, this $120,000 is specifically to find the source of the problem. What are we going to do, and how are we going to handle remediating the problem once it's found? I mean, obviously you have to figure out what the problem is before we can talk about how much it's going to cost. But if this is a result of sewage leakage or something on a private property, do we have to involve the property owners in this? And what are the steps following this process?
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. That's an excellent question. I will say, just to first address the issue of it being a potential like septic system, for example, most of the septic systems in East Gloucester are great distance from the sampling point that I sample for the state. So while it is possible that a septic system specifically would be the issue, I think that's something we'll be able to rule out relatively quickly. Now, it's difficult to estimate the cost of any infrastructural issues that we may uncover in this investigation. I will say that DPW just this last week has repaired a section of sewer line that was 30 feet on Hart Street, which may or may not have been contributing to the issue. That's something we'll look into more. I will say that a part of the $120,000 is to help us prepare bids and prepare proposals for any construction that may or may not need to happen. And I'd also just like to mention that it's possible that we identify this relatively quickly. Certainly we don't want to make any guarantees, but it may not cost the full extent of this dollar amount that we're asking for, depending on how quickly we identify the source. And we do have 2 or 3 hot spots where enterococci was especially high, that I'm confident if we focus our efforts in the beginning of the process, we'll be able to narrow something down relatively quickly, and it may not reach that extent.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, councilors? So I have a question for Rachel, Max, and Greg. So how can the public stay abreast of the progress that's being made in this matter? Will that be coming in front of the public health group in their monthly meetings for updates? I'd just really like to find out how we can stay abreast of this, because all of us, no matter what ward we are in, have lots of people asking us in the community when this issue is going to be resolved.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question, Councillor Gilman. I do provide monthly updates at our Board of Health meetings about the status of the Good Harbor Creek investigation. In addition to that, I've been working with Councillor Memard to set up a public forum once we get the ball rolling and the work really on the ground, beginning with the engineering firm. And I, at that point, would make myself available, along with potentially some of our engineers, to answer any potential questions from constituents. Lastly, I want to make my phone number, my office phone, available to anybody who is curious. I will be happy to pass around that information to you counselors who would like to refer people directly to me if they have questions, or if you have questions, or just want to talk more in depth about it at a later time.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate the update.
Absolutely.
Proceed.
You talking to me?
No, Councilor Memard.
Oh,
did you raise your
Councilor Grow had his hand up.
Okay. Council.
I was just gonna ask if we could request a full briefing once you get to a point where you are confident in the problem and then the solution, so that we can then inform people who call us and in general.
Absolutely, that won't be a problem.
Rachel,
The Board of Health, for your information, Jason, the Board of Health, Rachel and her team have provided a summary review of it's a 2-page document bringing us up to date of what they've done so far and what they need to do, and then these going to bid with the outside contractor. So the Board of Health has been keeping close tabs on this, and they have a good record in their minute meetings in the Zoom call there.
I would expect that to be the case. I would just hope that we could get an administrative update once the problem's been isolated.
So
forgive me, Madam Chair. I was just going to say, Council Grow, we can make that happen. That's not a problem.
I will make sure that anytime you're ready to present to the City Council, that we will put you on as a 10 or 15-minute presenter at the beginning of the meeting, because this is important for everyone, particularly as the summer gets closer. So I think that's a great idea. So proceed,
thank you,
Councilor Memard. Thank you.
Yeah, if there are no other councilor questions at this point, I'll go ahead with a motion. Budget and Finance voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 12 in the amount of $120,000 from the Capital Project Stabilization Fund balance account as noted to the Capital Project Stabilization Fund DPW Professional and Technical Services account as noted to fund the cost of an engineering investigation at Good Harbor Beach Creek. And I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Memard, seconded by Council Worthley. Is there discussion, councilors? Councilor Grow.
I just want to point out that this is a great example of why we have these reserve accounts to fall back on, because if we were to not have them, we'd be dipping into general fund reserves or general funds. And I think this is a terrific example of why we maintain stabilization accounts.
Great, thank you. I think I saw Councilor Worthley.
Yes, I just want to draw attention to both Max and Rachel for their enthusiasm and professionalism on this. They really did a even more thorough presentation at the Budget and Finance Committee. This wasn't thorough, but it was very helpful. And so thank you for that. And then Council Memhard, after we had, early in the agenda, we were accepting donations. You said, now we get around to having to spend some money. And I think you'll agree, this is not just an expenditure, but it is an investment, not only for the public health, but also we get a lot of money from Good Harbor Beach. And so it is sort of golden goose that we're also supporting as well.
Excellent point.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor.
Welcome.
Any other questions or comments by the city councilors? Seeing none, the motion has been made, it was seconded, and we can do a roll call vote. Council Memard?
Yes.
Council Nolan?
Yes.
Council O'Hara?
Yes.
Council O'Neill?
Yes.
Council Worthley?
Yes.
Council Gilman? Yes. Council Gross?
Yes.
Council Grow?
Yes.
Council Majota?
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank
thank
you.
you, councilors.
Thank you. We have one final motion from Budget and Finance for your consideration tonight. We had a memorandum from the interim community development director, Greg Catamatore, requesting our acceptance of a National Grid Mass Save sponsored Community First Partnership Grant in the amount of $40,000. And Greg can speak to that, I think.
Sure. Councilors might recall, new and old, a few years back in 2017 and 2018, we participated in a very similar program sponsored by National Grid that was called the Community Initiative, whereby we used city resources as well as backed by materials provided for by National Grid to really encourage folks to look at the Mass Save program. And this is a free audit that can occur in your a home or small business, or even for those that rent. You don't actually have to own property, to look at energy efficiency in your home. And there's also a lot of incentive programs that are identified. And in some cases, there are things that can be done for very little or no cost that can result in savings in the long term on your energy bills. So we applied to this program as it's been revamped. It's a little bit in a different format. The funding that we will receive, again, will go towards education and outreach of the Mass Save program. It'll also allow us to hire a part-time person for 3 years. It is a 3-year funding that we'll receive each year. And if we hit certain milestones, actually the amount of funding may increase. So again, it's really around educating folks as to what they can do within their own home to lower their carbon footprint and also save money. And it's perfect timing as we're in the midst of, or almost in the middle of the CARP planning process that we've termed it. It's the Climate Action and Resilience Plan, which is not only what the city can do, but what the individual can do to try to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions as a community. And I'll just put in a plug for, there is a meeting this Thursday evening at 6 p.m. You can find it on the city website. And we will be talking exactly about goals and strategies that the community can potentially implement once we complete that plan. And this is a great first step for folks. It will kind of roll out later this spring and be probably more intensive in the summer months. And again, it'll be a 3-year commitment to continue to educate folks as to what they might be able to do themselves to take the initiative to reduce their footprint.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Council, would you restate your motion if you would?
I would indeed. Budget and Finance Committee recommends the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A a private grant from National Grid/Mass Save sponsored Community First Partnership Grant in the amount of $40,000 for the purpose of supporting education and outreach surrounding energy efficiency. And I so move.
Second.
We have a motion made by Council
Second.
Memard and seconded by Council Worthley. Is there discussion, councilors? Council Grow.
I don't want to talk on everything, but I just want to say my own fandom for the Mass Saves program. We took advantage of it this year to have our house inspected and re-insulated. Saved us a lot of money on the cost of doing the installation to begin with. It's going to save us money on energy costs going forward. They have lots of great plans with window replacements, and if nothing else, you're going to get a big box of LED light bulbs. So I encourage everyone in Gloucester to reach out. There's a lot of local contractors that are involved with the program. So in addition to helping yourself, you're also helping local contractors and businesses. So it's definitely a win-win-win.
Any other comments, councilors? So I would like to add that there's an amazing amount of selling that we can do when these great programs come out. Most of us have ward pages, at-large pages, and one of the things that we've begun to do really well is that the administration will post things on the city website and then ask us to use the same documents and get them out to our individual constituents. So I just ask Greg that at the time when this information is coming out, that we do a masterful job in making sure that we get all these great programs out to our constituents and all the boards and commissions. It really does help a lot, including the Council on Aging. You know, we just have so many good ways to get all these programs for people to save money out to taxpayers in Gloucester. So, so if there are not any more discussions here, we have a motion, we have a seconded, and we can do a roll call vote. Council Memhard.
Yes.
Council Nolan.
Yes.
Council O'Hara.
Yes.
Council O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Worthley.
Yes.
Council Gilman. Yes. Council Gross.
Yes.
Council Grow.
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg, for staying here so late. We appreciate it. I know you've had a long day.
Not a problem. Have a good evening.
You too. And thank you, Council Memard. I really do think that the transparency of us going through these motions that come out of BNF is really important. In the past, we were just doing unanimous consent agendas, and I think it's so much helpful for the public to know all these great things that we're doing. So thank you for that transparency in doing this. Next
Agreed.
order, yes, Madam Clerk.
Is the Ordinance and Administration Standing Committee report of February 14th.
Council Nolan. Council Nolan,
There are no items under this heading tonight.
thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Is the Planning and Development Standing Committee report of February 16th.
Council
Okay,
Carroll.
yes, thank you. The first item up for us is the memorandum from the Sawyer Free Library Director regarding the construction manager at risk procurement delivery method for the library's renovation and expansion project. And I believe we have the director of the Sawyer Free Library, Jenny Benedict, and the chair of the Capital Projects Committee, Simon Paddock, to explain what that is and to answer any questions that the council might have. So if we could bring them in, Jenny Benedict and Simon Paddock.
Thank you. Welcome, Jenny.
Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Is Simon also managed to?
Yep. So Jason, I'll let you run this. Go ahead.
Okay, basically, they're asking us to approve the construction manager at risk style of project management in an effort to facilitate design and implementation strategies at the most cost efficient and not just cost efficient, but also in terms of quality and quality management. They have a presentation. I don't know how much we need to go deep into that. They gave a fairly comprehensive presentation at P&D. So if I guess the question would be, if you have any questions specific to what they're doing. We weren't talking about specific plans in terms of design, which will all come later in the year, but I'll leave it to you.
So Jenny and Simon, why don't you explain what this is, and if any counselors have a lot of detailed questions, and we can upload the presentation.
Certainly. So thank you, Councillor Gilman. So construction manager at risk is an alternative delivery method to design, bid, build under Mass General Law 149 and 149A for public building construction projects estimated to cost $5 million or more. The use of construction manager at risk for public construction projects is regulated by the Office of the Inspector General and requires approval of the Library Capital Projects Committee, which happened in January. And then for consideration this evening is local endorsement by City Council. And if so approved, we would then submit an application to the Office of the Inspector General and receive notice to proceed in about 60 days. So some of the benefits of the construction manager at risk is that the construction manager joins the project team in the design phase and provides advice on constructability, phasing and sequencing, cost estimating, and current market conditions. Also, the construction manager is hired on the basis of multiple factors, including reputation and record in controlling costs, meeting deadlines, and satisfying owners. In this process, early work packages are possible, and the delivery method uses open book accounting practices with unspent project contingencies returning to the owner. And I will say the library was also aware in terms of local practice that the construction manager at risk has been utilized successfully on multiple public building projects within the city of Gloucester, including the West Parish School, Veterans Elementary School, and will be used for the Gloucester Police Station renovations. So that's a summary overview, and Simon and I would both be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jenny.
Any questions from the council? Super. So we go forward with the motion? All right.
Thank you.
So the Planning Development Committee recommended on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman, we voted roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the city council approve a construction manager at risk CMR approach under Mass General Law 149A as a public construction alternative to the design bid build method under MGL 149 for the 2025 Sawyer Free Library renovation and addition project. And I so move.
I second it. We have a motion by Councilor Grow and a seconded by Councilor Gilman. Is there a discussion, councilors?
I would just say on the motion that they gave a very thorough presentation, which is available in the minutes. I look forward to seeing the designs and the additions to the library. I'm very excited that we have a library. They seem to be anachronistic in a lot of people's minds, but they're such an important part of the community. And it's very exciting that we have the interest and the energy behind it to keep it a vital part of our community's heart.
Thank you, councilors. Any other councilors want to participate in the discussion? Councilor Nolan.
I just want to thank Jenny and Simon and the rest of the Sawyer Free Library for all the work they put forward, the ups and downs to improve the content in the building for a wonderful establishment such as the Sawyer Free Library.
Thank you, Councilor Nolan.
Thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you,
Any
Sean.
other councilors like to weigh in on this discussion?
I would simply just restate what Councilor Grow and Councilor Nolan have just said, that the library is a heart of our community, and this is going to be a very exciting time for everyone here as we go about reinventing it, using some of the old bones that we've been gifted, and creating a modern contemporary library for our community and the next generations.
Thank you. And I will summarize. I totally will be supporting this. One of the things that I was really impressed about when they presented to us at P&D was this construction manager at risk identifies construction issues early in the process and can reduce many of the questions that can create delays and cost increases. So I think that in itself is worth its weight in gold. So I will be supporting this. So at this point, I think we're ready for a roll call vote. So Councilor Memhard.
Yes, green light, go ahead.
Councilor Nolan.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Grow. You're muted.
You're muted.
Because I'm an idiot. Yes. There we go.
Councilor Majota.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Love the library.
Awesome. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you so much, Simon and Jenny. Send our best to your board. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you,
Can we get a
councilors.
second on Councilor Grow's last motion?
Excuse me?
We have a second on Councilor Grow's last motion.
Oh, yes, I seconded it.
No, I meant his motion of being an idiot.
Oh.
We have a roll call vote on that. I just want to see where things stand.
No, you don't.
Oh, wait a second. That's a personal attack. We can't have personal attacks. So.
I don't mind. I got a thick skin. Just to finish out, we also had a non-voting, or we had a voting issue, but one that doesn't become before the full council, approving the road closures for the Magnolia Farmers Market for the summer. Looking forward to that. And we have another road closure, which we'll take up at the next meeting. That's it.
Councilor, may I also just ask you just to elaborate a little bit on what we're to expect on the meeting on March 2nd at P&D, because that came up in some of the questions earlier. And I know
So much fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. I mean, do we want to spoil the surprise?
No, I know you're working hard on gathering all the questions.
And we've gathered and collated and condensed a list of questions that came out of all the ward meetings. I tried to combine similar questions from each ward so that Greg had a single, sometimes long question to answer. We're expecting Greg Hanamatori to enlighten us with the answers that he has for these questions. And then I think at that point, we will begin the process of discussing the individual motions and whether, at what point we are in terms of moving forward on them. I don't know that we will be completely finished in one meeting. There are a lot of issues to discuss and a lot of concerns that have been raised and addressed. So we want to make sure that we give the Planning and Development Committee enough time to properly discuss these. And then if we are at a point where we start making recommendations, that's great. If we're not, then we'll continue it until the next P&D meeting. But I do think that we're ready to start having a healthy conversation about what these amendments mean and what we should be doing about them. So that's where we'll be going. But we do expect a presentation from Greg at the beginning of the meeting to address the questions that were asked by the public. And again, if the council has any further questions, please have them to us by the end of business tomorrow, so that Greg has enough opportunity over the next few days to digest and research any answers that he needs to. So fair warning. We'll take them all up the next. When do we meet again? Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, 5:30. Thank you. And I just want to add to the amount of extra information that is now on the City Council website under zoning amendments. As early as this morning, Grace Poirier, our Assistant City Clerk, added specifically the meeting summaries of Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So everyone can see those very easily by just going and hitting a link, and you can see who spoke, what they said, who was in support, who had concerns about the individual matters that are in front of us. So I think that that's extremely helpful. We also added all the presentation slides that were in all of the ward meetings. With the exception of the first one, there were a few extra slides that were modified to be more specific and based on feedback that we got after the first session that was done for Ward 2. And so I think that that's helpful as well. And as early as tomorrow morning, the approved minutes for the last P&D meeting that were approved tonight will be also on that. So everything is live links. That's the factual information for all the city business in front of us on these amendments. And I really encourage you all to make sure that your constituents is aware of that one-stop shopping and where that stuff is.
I'd like to add something, if I could, to that, Councilor Gilman. Specifically, I was approached by a constituent who was concerned about the volume of information that's available. And of course, it's a double-edged sword. Too little information, we're opaque, too much transparency, and we're overwhelming. Specifically on, I think it's page 11 of the ward meeting presentations, there is a one-page summary that does a very good job of very narrowly focusing the attention on what the zoning amendments are and what they hope to accomplish. So if nothing else, you can look to that one document as a very concise summary of the issues at hand if you don't want to go poking around at all the various meetings and presentations that have. I think it's really important that people understand with clarity what it is that we're looking at and not be confused or have information conflated from other issues that are out there but not relevant to what we're engaging at the moment with this particular set of amendments.
Thank you, Councillor. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is public hearing 2021-032, rezoning application 2021-003 in accordance with Gloucester zoning ordinance section 1.11.2 parentheses A, amend Gloucester zoning ordinance section 2.3.1 residential uses, 3.2, excuse me, dimensional table, 3.2.2 dimensional requirements for multifamily dwellings and their accessory uses other than signs, and section 3.1.6B building heights in excess of 35 feet.
Thank you. And I would like to open the public hearing, and it will be continued until the March 8th, 2022 City Council meeting. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is public hearing 2022-004 CPC off-cycle recommendation to appropriate up to $200,000 for the purpose of allocating funds under the community housing category to Action Inc. Tenant-Based Rental Mortgage Assistance Program.
Thank you. And I would like to open the public hearing and ask that our applicants, Pam Toby, Matt Lundberg, and Allison Lex from Action, tell us about the benefits of this request.
Good evening, councilors. This is Matt Lundberg. Pam Toby isn't able to join us this evening, and I'm going to turn over most of this to Allison. I would like to say a couple of things on behalf of the CPC. As you know, we manage most of our requests and recommendations on an annual calendar, and we bring those recommendations to the mayor and to you in the fall. We do have a provision in the ordinance to allow for off-cycle recommendations, which we've brought to you before, and this is one of those. It is to support Action's tenant-based rental mortgage assistance program. And to describe that briefly and to answer any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Allison. Allison, are you on?
Yes, hi, can you hear? Okay, good. So hi, everyone. I am Allison Lex. I'm the Director of Operations and Planning at Action Inc. Thank you for taking the time to review our application for CPA funds for our tenant-based rental and mortgage assistance program. To provide some background information on the program, we have been operating this program for over 15 years, serving the Cape Ann community, and specifically, we provide short-term rental and mortgage assistance to low-income individuals and families that have had a temporary financial hardship or some sort of financial setback, such as illness or job loss or unforeseen medical expenses that have made it challenging for them to pay their rent, pay their mortgage. They're on the verge of eviction or foreclosure, and we're able to use these funds to provide a short-term assistance. Sometimes it's 1 month, sometimes it's several months, up to a period of 12 months. And by providing that assistance, we're able to help people make ends meet, stay in their housing, stay in the community, and stabilize themselves and their families and put people in a better position than they were previously. And so we initially came back before the city in 2020 when we started seeing a huge influx of clients as a result of COVID because of job loss, illness, and so on and so forth. And so we have received 2 generous grants from the city already, which have been a huge help. We've served over 50 households, so helped over 50 families stay in the community, stay in their housing, restabilize their households over the course of that time. And at this point, we have used up those funds and went back before the CPC to ask if it was possible for another round of funding in order to help the individuals and families that we continue to see come into our organization. To provide a little bit more information, the majority of the households that we have assisted over the past 2 years have been below 30% area median income, which means for a family of 4, their income would be about $40,000 a year or less. So really not being able to pay rent for 1 or 2 months even makes a huge difference in terms of what people are able to do. So that is, and then the other couple of things I wanted to mention are that the way the program is structured, we work with the landlords or the mortgage company. So any funds that we receive from the city go directly to the landlord or to the mortgage company in order to pay the rent. Any funds that we receive from the city go directly to those housing costs. So all of the staffing support that is provided to clients is provided through in-kind support, so other public or private grant funding that Action or donations that Action has received. And our staff work with clients who are in the rental assistance, mortgage assistance program, providing referrals to other services, budgeting assistance, and making sure that if someone needs more than 3 months of assistance, that they have to meet with a staff person again, check in with them, and make sure they're on the right track to be self-sufficient by the end of the assistance period. And we've seen really great success through the program, and we believe it's a really essential service for us to continue providing. And so we are hoping that we can count on the city for another round of funding.
Thank you, Allison. Would anyone else like to speak in support? Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are no communications.
Councilors, are there any questions to ask on this request? I have a question to ask of Allison. And I also saw that Jen Beloff is on the call. So thank you, Jen, for being here as another representative from Action. So Allison, can you tell me if because of COVID, if we have even more requests for mortgage assistance right now in your estimate?
Yes, we have seen a huge increase in requests for mortgage assistance and rental assistance as a result of COVID. Over the course of the past nearly 2 years, the number of requests that we've been seeing per year has increased almost tenfold. So it's been a huge, huge increase. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it is really slowing down at this point because, you know, there are families and individuals that are still seeing financial hardship. Even, you know, we've seen situations where people had some small amount of savings, they lost their job or spent time out of work for, you know, illness or to care for a family member, and they spent the savings they had on their rent at that point. And now, even if it's been a couple months, they are really struggling at this point. So yes, we've seen a huge increase.
Thank you. So seeing no more questions from the councilors, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report. Council Memard. Can you unmute yourself, Councilor?
I can do this, or Councilor Gross can. I have it in front of me. Tony ran that meeting.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Councilor
go ahead,
Gross.
Scott. Scott, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Budget and Finance on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Worthley, voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council appropriate up to $200,000 from the Community Preservation Act funds as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to provide off-cycle funding for the purpose of the Action Inc. Tenant-Based Rental Mortgage Assistance Program. The appropriation will be allocated to the community housing category and funded by up to $200,000 from the unrestricted reserves in account 4500. The project will be tracked by the Community Preservation Act Fund, Community Housing Projects Fund, Fund number 4904, and I so move.
Second.
You have a motion made by Council Memard, seconded by Council Worthley. Is there a discussion, councilors? Council Grow.
I want to first off thank the Community Preservation Committee and Action for being on top of this and being proactive about requesting the money. I think, you know, as COVID has wreaked its havoc on the community in general, I think it's served as a means to highlight just how fragile so many people are in Gloucester. You know, about 50% of Gloucester residents are housing cost burdened. And while COVID was certainly devastating to a lot of people who might not otherwise have been in a precarious position, it just serves to show how tightly things are for people financially and how quick people are to face risk of losing their home. And, Gloucester has got to reckon with itself that it has a diverse economic community. We have extremely wealthy people, but we also have very extremely impoverished people, frankly. We run the gamut, and programs like this keep people from losing their homes, which can be a family saving thing. I mean, you're talking about tremendous stress and impact on families, and anything we can do to make sure that people stay in their homes through rent or mortgage assistance when they need it, we should be doing, because more people than we want to recognize are really on a razor's edge financially, and it's our responsibility to do what we can to try to limit the tragedy of houselessness and homelessness.
Thank you. Any further discussion, councilors? Councilor Nolan.
Jason basically read my mind, and the only thing we can do to make this anything better was to revisit the amount of percent that we spend on the CPA and how we raise our funds. So this may be a good example of how we look at how money from unfunded funds, even though it is tax revenue, can make a difference in everybody's life, whether it's through the open door food programs, housing, the arts, the industries, the community. It's been a resource for us, especially in the last 3 years, 2 more especially, to go back to the CPA funds for these grants. And it's something that we should all think about if there's a future for an increase on that and how much it means to a lot of people. Thank you all for being involved.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Worthley, you had your hand raised.
I did. I just want to echo what Councilor Crowe and Nolan are saying, but also add action oftentimes is the safety net for lots of residents, and they do it with no fanfare at all. And I'm not sure that they want fanfare necessarily. I don't know that that's their nature, but I think we should obviously do everything we can to thank them and be grateful and encourage people who might otherwise be embarrassed to seek these resources to feel comfortable knowing that this organization is in place to do exactly that and help the most vulnerable people in our city. So I just want to extend that, and also to the CPA committee for continuing their advocacy for all the categories that they're mandated to support. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. Any further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Councilor Memard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Absolutely.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow,
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Matt, Allison, Pam, everyone at Action, everyone on the CPC. Thank you so much. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
It's public hearing 2022-005, special city council permit 2022-001, Beacon Street, number 32, map 16, lot 53, Gloucester zoning ordinance sections 2.3.1, parentheses 7, conversion to or new multifamily, excuse me, or apartment dwelling 4 to 6 dwelling units in 3.1.6, parentheses B, building heights in excess of 35 feet in the R5 high density residential district.
Thank you. And I'd like to open the public hearing and ask that Attorney Meredith Fine, who is representing the applicant, speaks in favor of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening. And my name is Meredith Fine. I'm an attorney at 46 Middle Street. I represent Edward Gallegos, who is planning to renovate this property and move into it. May I share my screen, Madam President?
Absolutely. Thank you.
I just want to show everybody the house that we're talking about in case you haven't had a chance to look at it. But it's a beautiful old Victorian at the top of Beacon Street. For many years, there was an illegal, it's a 3-unit now. There was an apartment in the basement that was not permitted. It was there for a long time. And then when Mr. Gallegos went to purchase the property last April, the city insisted fairly that the kitchen in the basement be taken out. So he's not making any changes to the exterior of the building at all, except to renovate it and improve it. Not changing the height, not changing anything about the exterior. So in terms of the height, it's consistent with the neighborhood character. It won't affect anybody's view. It's not changing anything. It's not going to affect anybody's utilities or have any adverse effect. And then in terms of adding the 4th unit, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. There was a 4th unit down there for a long time. Nobody cared. In fact, one of the neighbors said at the zoning board meeting that everybody thought it was legal, that nobody thought to question it, and that the benefits to the community will far outweigh any minimal costs associated with one extra 1-bedroom apartment. So it's nice to have a young person investing in Gloucester, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold off on a bit for that as we continue the public hearing. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in support of this? Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, are there any communications that have been submitted?
There are no communications.
Counselors, now it's your opportunity to ask questions of Attorney Fine. Do any counselors have questions? Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report from Councilor Grow.
Committee recommendation on a motion of Councilor Gilman, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. The Planning and Development Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council grant to Meredith A. Fine Esquire on behalf of owner Edward Gallegos a special council permit 2022-001 for the property located at Beacon Street number 32, Assessors Map 16, Lot 53 in the R5 district pursuant to Gloucester zoning ordinance section 2.3.1 parentheses 7, conversion to or new multifamily or apartment dwelling 4 to 6 dwelling units for a 4th dwelling unit, and section 3.1.6b, building heights in excess of 35 feet for the building to remain at 48 feet. This permit is made on the basis of plans and elevations submitted to the city clerk on January 14th, 2022, entitled Plan of Land 32 Beacon Street, plan dated May 10th, 2021, and submitted to the city clerk on January 14th, 2022, entitled Floor Plans for 32 Beacon Street, and plan dated August 5th, 2021, submitted January 14th, 2022, entitled 32 Beacon Street Exterior Elevations. Subject to new information and or debate that results from the public hearing, this special permit is deemed to be in harmony with the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance, and I so move.
Second, we have a motion by Councilor Grow and seconded by Councilor Gilman. Is there a discussion, councilors?
On the motion?
Yes.
I think this is a fairly straightforward situation of modifying a wrong or righting a wrong that's been allowed to persist for many years in the sense that there's been an illegal unit down there. Obviously, they've maintained that there's no real change to the use of the structure than what it used to be, other than it's now a legalized building and legalized unit. So on that alone, I think we can safely say it's worthwhile approving it. I do want to point out just anecdotally that it's a real interesting observation to look at the building and get an understanding of height in relation to how things are measured we're granting effectively an 18-foot height exception on this building. And yet I would hazard a guess that if you drive up Beacon Street and you see the building, even though it is on the top of the hill, that you would not guess that that was considered to be 48 feet tall. So we often kind of have a perception of what buildings are and the heights of buildings, but in reality, things aren't always quite as they seem. And this obviously fits into the neighborhood. We've had people comment that they're very happy that the building is going to be renovated and beautified. So we're looking forward to that. I encourage the council to support this.
Thank you. Further discussion, councilors? Councilor Memard.
I would just say that Meredith's photograph of the house is very helpful, and I could not help myself have the same thought process and observation relative to height that Councilor Grow just commented upon. This is a lovely home that fits in the neighborhood. It's been there a long time. I can't imagine this particular dwelling being restricted to a 30-foot height, just by way of context.
Thank you. Any other comments from councilors? So I just would like to elaborate a little bit on standards to be applied, section 1.8.3. I know Attorney Fine stated that under social, economic, and community needs served by the proposal, there would be additional, I just want to add, much needed housing unit while preserving the beautiful Victorian building. In terms of traffic flow and safety, the additional fourth unit would be a 1-bedroom apartment, which would not affect traffic. She stated that there would be minimal effects on utilities and no ill effect on the natural environment. And also there's a potential fiscal impact, would be a small tax benefit from the additional unit improvements to the building. So I will be supporting this for those reasons. And if there are no more discussions, I think we're ready to vote. Seeing no further discussions, roll call vote. Councilor Memard.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Meredith.
Oh, thank you all very much. It's nice to see you all.
You too. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is public hearing 2022-006 to amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-289, Parking Meter Zones on Street, and Section 22-284, Service or Loading Zones regarding Middle Street. And we have Jeremiah Nicastro speaking on behalf of this.
Great. So I will open the public hearing and ask Jeremiah Nicastro to speak in favor. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you, councilors. I'm just here requesting 2 visitor spots for the community impact unit up on Middle Street from the hours of 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we've been there for about 3 weeks now. There's very little resident parking during the day on Middle Street, so we shouldn't be affecting any neighborhoods.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in support? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are no communications.
Thank you. Councilors, do you have questions for Jeremiah Nicastro? Councilor Grow.
I guess I didn't get a chance to review this as thoroughly as I would have liked. Why is it that you need 2 spots on Middle Street?
We're requesting 2 spots for visitor parking for the community impact unit. So people that come to visit us have parking because there's not much parking on Middle Street, similar to what's in front of the police station right now.
So these would be specifically dedicated to people visiting the community impact department. They wouldn't be for police vehicles to be parking there.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just, I guess I'm worried. I know that you said there's not much impact right now, but we're in the middle of February, and we're not maybe considering the impact of traffic in January, or in May and June and July, and also I think the concern about what impact that loss of spaces might be for development at the Y. Do you feel like you're going to have that much traffic with people visiting the community impact?
We have some days up to 30 visitors during an 8-hour period. Our employees do have parking behind the YMCA. If the council feels more comfortable giving me one space, I'll take that too. We'll work with residents in the city council, whatever we need.
Yeah, and just for clarification, one last quick question. What is it that they're visiting you for? What can you give me an idea of why they're coming to visit you there?
The community impact unit focuses on all quality of life issues, whether it's people suffering from substance use disorder, homelessness, housing, mental illness, cops and kids, a whole variety of things.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilor Majota?
Yes, I'm a more of a visual person, so I'm trying to Google the area. Like, what's the exact address in comparison in Middle Street? So I just have I can look at it as a reference.
67 Middle Street. It'd be the second parking spot in the third.
Thank you.
It's also about allowing people not to pay the meters to come in and to seek services rendered. And rather than, traveling to go to a kiosk, which could be a barrier for those people to come and see us.
Thank you. Councilor Gross?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was frozen. I don't know if you answered this, Officer Nicastro. This is for a limited time frame during the day too, is that correct?
7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And to be honest with you, I don't see us towing any vehicles out of there. If somebody's parked there, we'll do everything we can to run the plate and ID who the person is. And I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to get any complaints from cars being towed or tagged or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any other questions, councilors? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report from Ordinances and Administration. Councilor Nolan. Councilor, could you unmute yourself?
Before I go on with the committee report, I do want to say that the Traffic Commission did weigh in on this. We did have a good Ordinance Administration Committee report over it. I do believe that that everything that they're asking for is warranted to, and it did go through the proper channels. So with that being said, there's a 3-part situation here. So we'll move on to the first one. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Majota, the Ordinance Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-289, parking meter zones on street by deleting Middle Street, 2 1-hour parking meters in front of the YMCA, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by motion made by Councilor Nolan and seconded by Councilor O'Hara. There's a motion to amend. Councilor Grow.
I would amend this to reduce it to 1 1-hour parking meter. I think given the well, I'll make the amendment and then we can talk about it.
So the amendment is on the table. Is there a second to Councilor Grow's amendment?
Second.
There's a second. So Councilor Grow, would you discuss why?
Yeah, I have no doubt that this was talked about, and I'm not fundamentally against the idea behind it. I just feel that there's such a dearth of parking in that area that taking 2 spots out while it may be not very impactful this time of year, is going to be fairly impactful during the rest of the year. And I just think maybe we need to find out whether or not there's a truly that much of a need to dedicate 2 spots in this particular area immediately. And maybe we come back, at the end of the summer and decide whether or not there's a need to expand it. But I think if they can deal with 1 dedicated site at this point, I think that's probably sufficient. And then we can reevaluate after, 6 months to a year.
Okay, the motion right now is, the amendment to the motion is to create 1 parking spot as opposed to 2. So let's vote first on the amendment by roll call.
Councilor Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go
Mr.
ahead,
President,
Councilor
we have
Worthley.
Further discussion on the amendment?
Yes,
People in favor, people opposed.
thank you.
So I appreciate Councilor Grove's point, and I also appreciate Lieutenant Nicastro saying he'd be happy with just 1. I challenge the question of if we're taking 2 places away, we're actually in a way adding 2 places, right? Because if I'm someone who's going through mental health issues, or if I'm going through issues with my kids, or I need to talk to someone at that level, I don't want to drive around looking for a place to park when I might be in crisis. And, if that's the burden, so be it. If they're seeing 30 people a day over a 8-hour period, I don't know how long an appointment is, but if an appointment's half an hour or an hour, those 2 spots are going to be used by people who are coming for these services. So I think there's no reason why we couldn't afford them 2 spaces and also revisit it in September, October, or whatever timeframe, and say they didn't need 2 spaces and come back and reduce it to 1. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I think you're right that parking is a challenge, but because parking is a challenge is the reason why I think we should give them the ones that they're asking for. So I won't be supporting your amendment. I certainly appreciate where you're coming from.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nolan. On the
I think
amendment.
that one of my concerns with the single parking is that I know what goes on with Lieutenant Nicastro in the community impact unit. I'm not going to mention names of staff and people that may be visiting there or not visiting there. And a lot of those are people that actually don't have transportation, and we don't have ways of getting them to there. So you have a lot of not necessarily parents, but a lot of elderly parents that are trying to keep their child or their loved one out of trouble, and they need to go talk to someone. And it's not a timed basis. It's a drop-in. It's a difference in life and death sometimes to people that have an addiction. And I think that 2 spots is actually a small amount for what can happen if even one person's life is changed over a substance abuse or reporting a physical or a sexual attack in family. And I definitely believe that people don't have time to drive around looking for a parking spot. And there are a lot of people that will frequent the community impact unit and do frequent it that do need rides to get there or be dropped off, and other people, waiting for them to help support them. So I can't support the 1 spot tonight. I do believe they deserve the 2 spots.
Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the amendment? Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. I want to mimic Councilor Worthley, Councilor Nolan. I think that this is a small participation that the city can do to help the police department, the impact unit. They do great things. We don't know what they do. It's for personal reasons, but the police department does tremendous work in our city. And I think, as has been mentioned, the time involved, someone has a crisis, parking should be the last thing that they need to worry about. And having those 2 spaces could make a huge difference. So I will not be supporting the amendment. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilor O'Neill.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate what Councilor Worthley and Councilor O'Hara said. I know parking's tight, that's my ward. But I also know there's a lot of people who need a lot of help. So if things are made easier for them, they'll seek help out. And if it's too difficult, they won't. So I will not support the amendment. I believe they should have 2 spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councils? Councilor Majota?
Yes, I do believe the 2 spaces is important. Where multiple people working there, being able to see people at multiple time, and it is only during the business hours. I believe it was from 7 to 4. So those who live in the area will have plenty of time to find parking after 4 o'clock coming back from work. And living in that area for a year and a half, you're out and about, come back from work, you can park there and no problem. So that's it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilor Gross?
Yeah, everything's pretty much been said about the need for the 2 parking spaces, but I agree that I think we need to revisit this if Lieutenant Nicastro could come back in in 6 months and tell us how great the need was for this parking space. That would be a good thing to know. But we definitely, when people are in crisis, you just can't drive around and look for a parking space. It's so debilitating just to be able to get there sometimes that it's to find a parking space can then make it impossible, particularly when you have your passenger is the person who is in crisis, severe crisis. So I think the 2 parking spaces are, as people have said, a small token to give this, and let's see what happens in 6 months.
Thank you. Councilor Grow?
This is not my ditch to die in, so I'm happy to withdraw the motion to amend, or we can vote on it either way.
Is there a second on Councilor Grow's motion?
Second.
To withdraw? We've got a second by Councilor Nolan to withdraw Councilor Grow's motion. I think we still have to vote on that, if I'm not mistaken. So our roll call vote to withdraw Councilor Grow's amendment. Councilor Memhard?
Yes to vote to withdraw.
Councilor Nolan?
Yes to withdraw.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilor Worthley?
Yes.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross? Tony, unmute yourself.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
sorry.
Councilor Grow?
Yes.
Councilor Majota?
Yes to withdraw.
Okay, 9 in favor of the withdrawal, 0 opposed. So now we're back to the main motion. So I'd like to restate, Councilor Nolan, if you wouldn't mind restating the main motion.
Yep. On a motion by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Majota, the Ordinance and Administration Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22-289, parking meter zones on street by deleting Middle Street 2 1-hour parking meters in front of the YMCA. And I so move. Again.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the main motion. Is there any further discussion?
Does Lieutenant Nicastro have his hand up?
No, Lieutenant Nicastro, we'd have to do, I don't believe he does have.
He does have his hand up.
Only, we will, councilors do you wish to suspend the rules of procedure to allow Lieutenant Nicastro to speak in our deliberations? Is there, without objection?
Yes.
We'll allow Lieutenant Nicastro to speak. Go ahead, Lieutenant, thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize. I completely respect Councilor Grow's concern about the 2 parking spaces. And if we find that we have a lot of walk-ins over the next 6 months, I promise you I will come back before the City Council and ask to reduce it to 1 spot. We do not want to disrupt the neighborhood whatsoever. the community impact unit is in place to work with neighborhoods, not against neighborhoods. So thank you, Councilor Grow.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think we're ready for the roll call. Council Memard, oh, do we?
Yeah.
Council
Yeah,
Memard, yeah, okay.
This is
Council-
the first of the three motions, yes.
Go ahead, Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The motion passes 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next motion, please, Council Nolan.
Is to amend chapter 22, traffic and motor vehicles, section 22-284, service or loading zones by deleting Middle Street, southerly side at a point 34 feet from the easterly sideline of Center Street at its intersection with Middle Street and running a distance of 44 feet. And I so move.
Second.
So motion made by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Is there a discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross. Council-
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Next motion, please, Council Nolan. Council, you are muted.
To amend chapter 22, traffic and motor vehicles, section 22-284, service or loading zones by adding Middle Street on the southerly side, beginning at a point 40 feet from the intersection with Center Street in an easterly direction for a distance of 40 feet, 2 spaces. The signage to read, community impact unit parking only, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion by Council Nolan, seconded by Council O'Hara. Is there a discussion, councilors? I just want to say that I like the process that we went through because I think it was valuable because we all definitely respect the need for parking, but I think the discussion was excellent. So thank you for that governance and for Lieutenant Nicastro's assistance on this matter. So I will be supporting this. Roll call vote, Council Memard,
Yes.
Council Nolan,
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes, Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate
you.
it. Next
bless.
order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is for council votes. City Council Order 2022-001, gross, ordered that the council as a whole shall join Senator Bruce Tarr in a letter of support for NOAA's 2022 marine debris removal grant opportunity.
Councilor Gross.
Yes, I don't know if everybody remembers the letter we got from Senator Tarr's office to Tom Barry at NOAA applying for the marine debris removal grant. I know that Gloucester participated in something very similar to this a few years back where they took a substantial amount of ghost lobster gear and gill nets off the ocean floor through one of these projects, and also had a dumpster in town so that guys could get rid of their worn out gear rather than having it be left elsewhere. It actually went to waste to energy, that program. So I just thought it might be a good idea if we added our weight as a city council, that we fully endorse Senator Tarr's efforts, or the Division of Marine Fisheries
I will cover for Council Gross until he comes back in. The motion is to join Senator Bruce Tarr in a letter of support for NOAA. For the
Awarding
NOAA's.
happened in
Go
September.
ahead. Can you repeat that, Council, because you froze for a moment?
So that this is a Division of Marine Fisheries grant that the senators endorsing, and I thought it would be a good idea if we endorsed. I don't know, did you guys get the whole spiel about the previous one? So,
We did. If you could just state your motion, that would be great.
oh, okay. Or the council as a whole joined Senator Tarr in a letter to support NOAA's 2022 marine debris removal grant opportunity. Number NOAA NOAA-NOS-ORR 2020 2006974. Nice move.
Second.
We have a
And-
motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Council Gross, would you like to say anything?
Well, I think we need to get to the clerk's office so that this can get off to them as quickly as possible to come down and sign it. If you all could take the time to go do that, that would be wonderful. So this is it's a highly beneficial thing for our fishing industry and for the ocean.
Great. Councilor Nolan, your hand is raised.
Yeah, no, it was a great program when we had it. We even expanded it to take shrink wrap from boats at one point, which alleviated some of the recycling processes and getting rid of the stuff. But not only is it a good tool for the fishermen to be able to work with their gear, it really helped out with the municipality and the DPW with being able to get rid of the lobster traps and the ropes that were beached and along our shoreline that we normally would have had to pay to get rid of at regular rate. We were able to use the marine dumpster to remove that at no cost to the city besides the labor. So the faster and the more we can do to get this to happen, the better it is for the entire city and our fishing community. And thank you, Tony Gross, for bringing this up for us.
Thank you. Any other comments from councilors? Councilor O'Neill.
I just want to know when it will be at the city clerk's office. What's today is Tuesday. Will it be next week or 2 weeks?
I think it's ready to be signed by tomorrow. So
Okay. Okay.
been
Thank you.
drafted. And thank you. And while you're there, you can also fill out or sign the code of conduct because we all approve that. But you can sign two things while you're there if you would.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Council Worthley, go ahead.
I just want to give credit to Councilor Gross for being attentive and vigilant for this. I had missed this coming through, and I give you credit for that, and also for sort of getting us on board as quickly as you did to sign on for this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we ready to vote, councilors? Okay, Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes, Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Grow,
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Thank you, Tony, for putting this through. I think it was really well done, so appreciate it. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is City Council Order 2022-002 Gilman. City Council Resolution requesting Mass Legislator consider bills to extend provisions of the executive order expiring on April 1st, 2022 regarding the permanent use of hybrid meetings.
So I'd like to move to withdraw. Do I have a
Second.
Councilor Nolan, thank you. And I'll discuss why I'm moving to withdraw this. Since I put this in, the emergency order has extended until July 2nd. And there are more things that I need to really get involved with and understand, because we do have a remote access provision that has been in place for about 10 years. And what I need to do is I need to understand what hybrid technology will do to that process in terms of quorums at standing committee, et cetera, because if people are going to be calling in and as members of council, for example, there are just some issues that will need to possibly be uncovered. But for now, I want to withdraw it because it's premature. I will also tell you that members of the school committee asked me to update them on where this stood because they were interested in exploring this as well. And so right now I just want to pause until we can get some more information on this. So I ask you to support my withdrawal. Madam Clerk, you have something to add?
Yes, it's till July 15th.
Oh,
They extended the remote meetings and not July 2nd.
Thank you for that correction. That's important to know, everyone. Thank you. Council Worthley on
Yes,
the
Councilor.
motion to withdraw.
Yes, so I'll support your motion to withdraw. I just want to make note that we have a lot coming forward with the zoning amendments, and we have our budget, and then July 1st will be here. And I started thinking this before we moved it to July 15th, but I don't want to be in a position where July 15th, we're trying to figure out how do we have city council meetings and the business of the city stops. So if we can just all, not necessarily vote on it, but just sort of have an understanding, we might maybe try for June 15th or June 1st to try to get ourselves to a place where if we're doing some sort of hybrid thing, we're not doing it and relying on technology at the last second. So I have my issues with technology, so I just putting that out there.
Definitely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, roll call vote on my motion to withdraw. Councillor Memard.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Nolan,
Yes.
Councillor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councillor O'Neill,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Councillor Gilman, yes. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Grow,
Yes.
Councillor Majota.
Yes.
The yeses have it. 9 in favor, 0 opposed to allow me to withdraw my motion. Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The update on the Council on Aging Board and Dogtown Advisory Committee by City Council Representative Val Gilman.
Thank you. I'm only going to speak to one of these, which is the Council on Aging Board. I'm not going to speak to Dogtown Advisory Committee because I have not yet attended one of the meetings, and that will wait till a later date. But for new counselors, what we typically do at the end of our meeting is that we rotate so we can speak to any particular commissions that we are ad hoc members of and just explain to the counselors what it is, what we're doing. And so as the first person to kind of do this with our new council, I just wanted to just say a few things about the Council on Aging Board. I've been an ex officio member of that now for 6 years. This is my 7th year. And I attend probably 90% of the meetings. They're held once a month on the first Tuesday of the month at 9:30. And I just wanted to comment that the amount of progress that the Council on Aging Board has made over the years has been tremendous. And there's a tremendous amount of energy between Elise Sinagra, who is our executive director, and Fred Cowan, who chairs our board. It's a very active board. There are folks like Rosalie Nicastro and Roseanne Cody and just so many. I shouldn't name people because so many of the board members are extremely active. So some of the highlights I'd just like to comment on is right now, there's an AARP tax aid program, and that's provided for consultations and free tax aid. So if you're interested, you can call Mike Feeney at 978-325-5814. There's a Rosie's picnic lunch every Thursday, and it's free, free at Rose Baker, sandwich, salads, soups, chips. It's sponsored by the Open Door in partnership with Rose Baker, and it's awesome. And if you're ever interested in signing up for that, seniors that are on the call, listening, 978-325-5814. We love your attendance. Some of those lunches have about 60 people, and it's a great way to interact and see folks. There's also a blood pressure clinic that happens the first and third Wednesdays of the month for those 60 and over. And if you're interested, dial 978-325-5800, extension 4. And then I just want to give you an idea of some of the great things that are happening tomorrow on the 23rd. Tax preparation at 9 a.m., line dancing at 9:15. There's bingo at 12:30, and at 1 o'clock, there's arthritis exercise. And the meal tomorrow is stuffed chicken, and it's awesome. The only other thing that I'd like to add, because I realize it's been a long meeting, but I love this board and I love the things it does. And I also want to mention that for those of you who might be in different wards, they're also looking to do a lot more Zoom and more interactive sessions for people that want to age in place that might not be able to get downtown. So there's a great new initiative to allow different Zoom sessions remotely. And that was one of the silver linings about the pandemic. So that's way cool. And I'll continue to update you on that. But one of the things I just wanted to mention is we do a TED Talks. It's a TED Talk coffee hour. And this month it's on Monday, February 28th at 10 a.m. It's always on the fourth Monday of the month. And there'll be a TED Talk at Rose Baker. And it's followed by coffee, snacks, reflective conversation facilitated by a member of our social work staff. And this month, series will feature author and resilience expert Lucy Hone. And if you're interested, you need to sign up in advance by calling Elise Sinagra, our executive director, at 978-325-5815. So to summarize, things are really exciting at the Council on Aging. All of you have in your mailboxes at City Hall, when you go there to sign the 2 documents you need to sign, you've got this really nice hard copy. If you don't want the hard copy anymore, let us know, but it's kind of nice to put it in our hands because we represent all the seniors in Gloucester, and there's so many great things that the Council on Aging does. So that's it for my presentation, and next meeting we'll recycle and ask a different member to represent what their board does. So next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Counselor request to the mayor.
Thank you, Counselor City Clerk, Joanne Sinos, I appreciate it. So we will go in order of our roll call. So Counselor Memhard.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Counselor Nolan.
I have no request for the mayor tonight. However, I do want to thank the administration and the DPW for spreading the love in the world of asphalt. I've seen it in all wards and in some places that should be really happy to see some results. And I like the teamwork and I like the efforts. And I think people should be happy with some pothole repairs before the spring and maybe even many more afterwards.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor O'Hara. Counselor O'Hara, will you unmute yourself?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor O'Neill.
I have no request for the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Worthley.
No request at this time. Thank you.
Counselor Gross.
Nothing.
Counselor
Stick with
Grow.
the theme.
Oh,
What's that? Yeah, I like Councilor Nolan, I want to thank the DPW for the work they've done. I noticed it on a number of streets in Ward 1 along my normal route, and we do appreciate that. Highland Street's now got a number of potholes that were repaired. It was awesome. While Middle Street parking may not have been my ditch to die in, the ditch on Bright Side might kill me one day. And I'm going to invoke section 2182, temporary repair, and beg and ask again that upon determination that the condition of the way constitutes an emergency which requires immediate repair in order to protect the health and or safety of the inhabitants of the city, we get something done on that street. I understand the arguments that have been made about not fixing it because it needs a permanent fix. I get that. But you run one fire truck or one ambulance over those potholes and you're going to end up with thousands of dollars of repair. And I think we need to do something that prevents that at the very least. And then we can work with the neighbors on a more permanent repair. And I'm going to keep begging every single council meeting until we get something done. Thank you.
And I will just to piggyback on I will jump ahead before Councilor Majota. So I just wanted to remind everyone that during the month of March, our DPW Director, Mike Hale, will be presenting to us on private road repair. So we have to schedule that in an upcoming meeting. And that's a commitment that has been made by administration, and that will be a great opportunity for us to dig deep into some of these questions and enlighten.
Not too much deeper than they already are.
We can't go much deeper, Val.
I understand. Thank you. So Councilor Majota, you're last on our list here. So do you have any requests?
I just want to back up Jason on this with, in my ward as well, where, the private and the public roads are, very complicated for, I think, some people to understand, and we always direct them to the website. And I'm looking for whether it's like a training video of someone explaining in person how it works. I think when people consistently try to read everything, it can get very confusing where there's multiple lines, where to have someone be like, this is why it's private, this is why it's public, will help people understand that, because we're constantly battling with certain streets.
I love that idea. And maybe we could ask Studio 1623 to interview Councilor Nolan, Memard, me, and Mike Hale. I mean, that's a possibility, and we could do just that and have that online. Because I agree that there's a lot to read, a lot to digest. I spend an incredible amount of time with my constituents in Ward 4 all the time on this. And Councilor Worthley attended the session at Corliss Landing in October. And there were about 40, 50 members, abutters there, and it was heated. And, I think the more we can become knowledgeable and subject matter experts, the better. So I think that's a great idea. So we'll think about that and what we can do. So thank you for that, Councilor Majota. Any other requests before we adjourn?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, so that concludes our meeting tonight. I think our governance was really good. I think we're having good dialogue and conversations, and thank you. And for the 13 folks that are still here, thank you for staying with us till the end. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilor Gross and a seconded by Councilor O'Hara. Let's do our last roll call of the night. Councilor Memhard.
Move to adjourn, yes. Good night.
Councilor Nolan.
Yes, everybody have a great night.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes. Good night.
Councilor Gilman, yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes. Good
Councilor
night.
Grow.
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes, good night, everyone.
Yeses have it, 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Good night, Joanne. Thank you for helping.
Thank you, Joanne.